Alistair, you're in charge of training. Tell me a little bit about it.
I'm training youngsters that are coming from school, from colleges, at a young age, and starting them on the basic courses of our trade, which is something that is learned through experience, through teaching them the right way to cut, to present meat, etc.
How many people are training on the course at the moment?
There's 10 altogether. I'm the only female.
Good woman, well
but
done.
I hope to be starting a trend of females to come into butchery.
What about you, Anthony?
It's something that interests me a lot, working with food, and just the whole process that, like, so many people are removed from. Kind of like in today's day, we just go in and see a steak on the supermarket shelf, but there's so much that goes in behind it, and there's so much craft and so much work.
How long is the course and what happens at the end of it?
It's between 2 and 3 years. It depends on skill level, so it can go into the 3rd. And at the end of it, you get a James Whelan accredited certificate, and then you get shipped out to the shops, and you go and be a full-time butcher.
Isn't that brilliant?
Brilliant.
Wow.
Absolutely
And do you think
brilliant.
more and more people are becoming into butchery as an exciting career for people, do you think?
Definitely. I think, look, we're back to the butcher shops now, and people love coming in, and it's the chat, and people themselves want to go in and learn a new skill, and it's definitely a skill. It's a craft.
There's many different faces of the modern day butcher. Nowadays, like, you have to be like the salesperson, you also have to be like the merchandiser, manage your stock, and then keep standards.
Well, it's a credit to both of you guys. Thank you so much, and I wish you could look
Thank
in
you
it.
very
Okay,
much.
we'll see you
Thank you,
again
Neven.
soon. Thank you. Pat, your father, James Whelan, opened up the butcher shop in Clonmel in 1960. Tell me a little bit about the family history.
Butchering goes back on my mother's side 5 generations. So when my mum and dad married, it was my mother originally brought the butchering, and she taught my father. And between them, they started the James Whelan Butchers that exist now in Clonmel. Originally, we lived over the shop, and the slaughterhouse was behind the shop. And interestingly, back in those times, there was 5 families who had 5 independent butcher businesses, all with their own abattoirs in the town of Clonmel.
And this is where it all starts in the farm, isn't it?
At every level of this business, you're working with nature every day of the week, almost conspiring with nature to create great food. I think we think of meat as something the same, but for me, every animal is different. Every single piece of the animal needs to be used. Shin beef is as important to me and is as nutritious as a piece of fillet steak, but you need to be a little bit more knowledgeable to get the best out of it. But every single piece of it has real value right down to the bones.
When I went into the shop to meet your daughter, I asked her favourite cut. She said it was oxtail.
Yeah.
She's only 9. That's amazing.
Oxtail is equally as important as fillet steak or other cuts of meat. In my utopia of a world, every cut of meat would be the same price because there is no real difference. Everything is just as nutritious. It's how you treat it. And because we've become time poor and you know, we're always in a hurry, we're looking for quicker cuts, tenderer cuts, and we kind of don't stop and think really, because good meat is an investment in your future health and well-being. If you think of it, the sacrifice the animal pays is superb, and I have an onus to the animal and to nature to make sure that everyone understands the value of every single piece of that animal and that they get use of it.
You have the abattoir behind me, isn't that right?
The abattoir is right here on the farm. And for me, you know, happy cattle make great beef. There have been a number of studies around stress in animals and how that has a consequence on the actual product. We have an individual approach to the slaughter of the animals, and the skills here in the field, which are animal husbandry and pre-slaughter care and, you know, general stockmanship, to know when the animal is ripe for slaughter, when it's laid down enough fat, and when the temperament is right. And then to be able to take it through the process of having a very humane approach to the entire slaughter process is really, really important, and a respectful process. But then to understand the maturation skills. Beef particularly, it's a technical process. Temperature needs to gradually reduce. The natural enzymes that exist break down the muscle fibre and help to develop the key to it all, which is flavour. And it naturally exists when the process is done sympathetically and not rushed.
Now I have to ask you about the beef dripping. What a marvellous product. Congratulations on your golden fork, the first ever to win in Ireland. You must be so proud.
Our commitment to sustainability is what brought that to life. The man who used to buy the fat and bone from us rang me to tell me he could no longer buy it and that I'd have to pay for it to be taken away. So I started to think about the process, and I was having lunch with my mother one day and I said, "Ma'am, what did you do with the fat?" And she said, "We made dripping." And I said, "How do you do that?" And she said, "Bring me some kidney fat, some back fat and some channel fat, and I'll show you how to do it." So in the kitchen, we made the first pound of dripping. I went home and I was telling my wife about it, and she said to me, "Bring me the fat and I'll start to do it as well." When she individually rendered each piece, she saw there was a different flavour from each one. So she started to blend the fat when it was rendered to maximise the natural flavour that exists. And that was the real magic behind it, because that elevated the product from being good to great. Out of 10,000 products that were entered in 2015, beef dripping was the supreme champion. My mother was with me on that night in London, and there was nothing more fulfilling than having her with me to share that whole celebration of something so humble, but yet so necessary. And it has opened a whole debate about fat and how necessary good fat is in your diet. And sometimes I smile to myself now when I sit in a restaurant and see double cooked chips and beef dripping, because it's almost back in vogue. And what something that had fallen from grace is now, you know, on trend, if that's the right word to use.
I love your passion for your craft and what you do.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Thanks a million, Pat.